Yes, guys, if you are listening, do like and retweet. I got a tweet out this morning about the importance of where we are in Luna Classic, and there's L2s going on, and I don't want to show juries here, but there's lots of other projects that are going on. But the unique selling point, the key selling point for Luna Classic was stablecoin. So if we can do something with this, I think we'll see a lot of interest and attraction back to Luna Classic. And if we can have that ready for the next bull market, that would be amazing. So again, I'm really positive about this. I'm looking forward to hearing more from Redline and the team on what this is about, and hopefully it can be delivered. And I'll let you guys make up your own mind what you think of the proposal, whether it's doable or not, because I know I'm aware I've shielded literally every USDC repay proposal that comes up. I'm really passionate about this. I just hope that this one, Redline and the team, can get over the line. So we'll do a quick intro around the table, guys, everyone, for like literally 5-10 seconds, and then we'll get started with Redline giving us a quick update summary on what this USTD is, and then we'll take some questions from myself and everyone on the panel, like DJ, Bleaves, Lunatic, my regular co-host, and then maybe we can take some questions from you guys from the audience as well. We'll go for around 1.5 to 2 hours, so it's not too long, and people can re-listen to this if they need to. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm a Luna lover, lunatic guy. Been here since Luna days. Lost a lot of money in the crash, and since then been supporting Luna Classic. Also part of the juries team with LL and Frag and few others. Okay, LL, do you want to do a quick intro, and then we'll go David, Redline, DJ, Bleaves, and then Martin.
Yes, sure. Guys, I will try to sit here. If it's not possible with the volume, then you would have to tell me and I will move somewhere else. So starting with me, I'm Luna Lover. My real name is Puya. I joined Terra Classic right in the middle of the crash. Back then it was called Luna. Was lucky to join the Discord that became Terra Rebels Discord from pretty much day one. Helped to grow it. Was part of Terra Rebels for some time. Then I left, helped them to do their work, and since then have been active in the community. And 1.5 years ago, I started together with my co-founders Juris Protocol, which is going to be lending protocol and successor of Anchor, as most in the community already know. But just to be sure, if outside people listen, they know who we are.
Okay, thank you. David, you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everybody, my name is David Skinder. I'm CEO of Challenge Studio, which is branding and product UX UI design studio from Poland that is focused on tech and Web 3.0 brands. And I'm also Terra Classic community member who has, been involved in many initiatives on Terra Classic, building Terra Classic website, designing the Juris Rocko. Now, hopefully, I'll have chance to work also the team of UST Protocol USD on this stablecoin. And a part of this, I'm just, I'm just with you since day zero, and I'm doing my best to show to the world that Terra Classic is far from being dead. That's what we did in Warsaw. That's what we did in Berlin, and this is what will happen in other places. So yeah, quick intro, design stuff and project management, all the crazy stuff. This is David Skinder. Thank you.
Okay, should we go to Redline?
How's it going, Rocko? How's it going, guys? I'm Redline. I suppose I've been involved. Well, I was involved with Terra since before the crash as an investor, but when the crash happened, I kind of got a bit more involved, like LL, in the Terra Rebels Discord server, and then with the quant team from there on. And I've kind of been involved in a lot of the USTC kind of stuff with Terra Classic. And now USTD. I think Terra Classic as well was a decentralized money chain, and that's what it's always been about. And I think we need to reignite that here, and that's why I'm here basically.
Okay, I'm just going through the list as it comes on my phone on the Twitter Spaces. Bleaves, how you doing, mate? Quick intro, please.
Hey, what's going on? Can you guys hear me right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I was having mic troubles. Bleaves Crypto. I do YouTube content. Been in Terra Luna Classic since it became Terra Luna Classic. Started making videos, doing coverage early on. I got hooked on the idea that I think I think the world loves a comeback story, and I think this has and had the potential of being one of the biggest comeback stories in the history of cryptocurrency. So I provide daily content. You guys, if you're interested in watching it or you haven't seen it before, you can watch it at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday on YouTube.
Cool. DJ?
Hey, I am DJ Trev, longtime community member. I've got a small YouTube channel. I'm also a member of the Juris Protocol team. Yeah, that's kind of about it. I enjoy McDonald's breakfast and long walks on the beach.
Cool. Last but not least, Martin?
Hey guys, how you doing? So my name is Martin. The co-founder and CEO of Artifine. I joined crypto during the DeFi summer 2020 for the technology, and I kind of stayed with that. So first I worked in an infrastructure startup, and quickly after that I joined forces with my co-founders, and we started like a startup building studio focused predominantly only on Web3 and crypto and blockchain. And we've been going for that for the past 4 years, building a lot of interesting stuff, and just having a lot of fun with what this new technology allows us to build.
Okay, I think we've
No,
covered everyone.
there's Don also from Lunc Daily. So let's not forget Don from Mayo.
Oh, apologies.
Hey there, guys.
Apologies.
My
Not
name
come
is.
up on my screen.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, my name is Don Stojanowski. I'm the owner of Lang Daily. We give the latest news and updates for the Terra Classic blockchain. As well, we have OrbitWire ecosystem. We are using that as a marketing tool for promotion of Terra Classic. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, Redline, do you want to get started by giving us a summary? So if people haven't already read the white paper, I recommend people go read it for more details. But if people haven't, could you give us a summary, please, Redline?
Yeah, so I might maybe start with why we even came about with USTD. And it was basically that we need to have decentralized money back on this chain. And if you look at USTC and the debt that's there, which is like $5 billion worth of debt if you were to repeg it, and if you look at the supply of Lunc, which is in the trillions, like the only thing that realistically is going to put any dent on those supplies is money. And we have nothing that's actually generating any money on this chain, or very little, bar on the L2, and there's nothing really on the L1 that's actually generating any income or any meaningful income. And so when I started to look, I actually saw that Tether had made more profit than BlackRock had last year. And I took a look at their business model, and I said, what if we could try to give that kind of a DeFi twist? And so what Tether does is they basically take your fiat money and they invest it into bonds, or into providing liquidity, and they and then they issue you a digital dollar basically. But they don't share any of those profits with you. They retain all those profits for themselves. So I then looked to see, was there, a safe way of generating yield or APR with USDC and USDT, and I found that in those stablecoin pools, in the V3 and V4 pools, that if you concentrate the liquidity, you can actually generate quite high APRs with relatively low risk. So that's what kind of basically brought me onto this idea. And then if you look at the way the stablecoin markets globally are going, you'll see that there's a very clear divide forming between what will be known as payment stablecoins and then say DeFi stablecoins. And if you look at payment stablecoins, like what's going to happen with those is you're going to be able to use USDT or USDC for real world payments. And basically what the US is going to do is it's going to force them to invest in bonds as collateral backing. And what that's going to do is it's going to drive down the APR rate on US bonds. So basically the US will have cheaper debt basically. So that's what's going to happen there. But one of the provisions of being a payment stablecoin is that you cannot offer yield to customer or to consumers basically. So that kind of gives an advantage then to DeFi stablecoins in that they can offer yield to consumers. Then I took a look at the DeFi stablecoin market that's there, and if you look at most of the DeFi stablecoins that are there, they're nearly all over collateralized models, meaning that you might have to put up 150% collateral in crypto basically to get a dollar back. And whereas if you were to back it one-to-one with USDC or USDT, you're essentially backed by dollars or bonds basically. So you could have one-to-one backing. So the cost of it, you wouldn't have. Consumers basically would only have to outlay, one-to-one with dollars rather than 150% basically. So that's another edge that you'd have, that we would have with USTD. So basically, how USTD would work is a consumer would deposit either USDT or USDC into the protocol, and the protocol would issue them one USTD. And what would happen then is the majority of the collateral would then go into providing liquidity on very specific ranges in stablecoin pools, so USDC to USDT stablecoin pools, so not in volatile pools. So one of the benefits of doing this is that there's very little impermanent loss, so it's quite low risk compared to most other AMM pools basically. And the thing is that if you know where to provide liquidity in a tight enough range, you can actually generate quite high APRs. I think you'll see in our back testing, like our average was in around 25% APR. So like if you then look at the other stablecoins, the DeFi stablecoins that are on the market, there's very few of them offering APRs above 10%, 15%, and most of them would require, that you'd have to lock up a token or staking or loan out a token to actually get that yield. So basically, by doing this, we'd be basically, by providing liquidity in these pools, say that would be on Ethereum, basically on other chains outside of Terra Classic, what we'd be doing is we'd be taking the liquidity from those chains and then distributing it back on Terra Classic to the holders. They would take half of the yield, and then say the other say 25% of the yield then would go to USTC and Lunc buyback and burns basically. And so how we would do that is we'd slightly incentivize it. So we'd give, for example, say 5% above market rate. So it would entice, so you'd be creating an arbitrage opportunity back on chain again, like there was before. Except we'd be using real yield to do that. So these swaps will be limited to the profits generated basically. And then say the other 25% would be used to build a DeFi reserve basically, so that in the event that either USDT or USDC was ever to be paid, you would have a decentralized reserve there to pull from as well. And with the way things are going with the dollar, I'd imagine that decentralized reserve will become more and more valuable with time, especially as you build it. If you look at it in terms of adoption, like the amount of money that this could bring to, so if you look at the TVL, say, or the market cap of, say, USTD, I think we had an ROI sheet there, if we could just pull it from it 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, chapter 13 on the white paper. Anybody can go to ustprotocol.com and check chapter 13. There are different ROIs there, but yeah, worth looking.
Sorry, it is just gone. Sorry, I just can't put it up
I
there.
I can summarize it if you want.
Yeah, if you want to do a summary, if you do it there in front of you, we
Yeah,
just summary the
just very quick. I'm not super specialist in this, but there are a couple of ROIs that team manages to or manage to basically calculate, right? The first is year one ROI versus development costs. So how quickly we are going to get this money that is needed to develop this protocol. Take into consideration different TVLs that they can get. So if it's just $1 million TVL, then it'll be like 60 months, right? But if it's $100 million TVL, it's just less than 5 days to to get this money back to the investors of this stablecoin, right? So and the numbers go even crazier if we imagine like TVL going $500 million or $1 billion, right? It's be less than a half day to finance to get the money back to the investors, the same money, right? So this is one ROI. The second ROI is maybe the one that people will care more, maybe is the burn ROI. So how fast and how much we can burn Lunc and USTC, right? So once again, with $1 million TVL of UST protocol USTD, we'll be able to burn equivalent of $265,000 the cost of the building a protocol in about 2,000 days, right? But if this is TVL is $100 million, and then we'll be able to burn Lunc and USTC, and 265K of those, which is equivalent of the development cost in around 20 days, right? So very quickly in terms of burns, right? And there are different other ROIs, how much liquidity we'll be able to bring to other blockchains, and all of this shebang. More some of those ROI calculations are a little bit more complex, some are less. But yeah, I definitely suggest to read this.
Sorry, yeah, my laptop decided to do an update there just as I was speaking. But yeah, like so you can see like if this was the scale that, like if you can look at the ROI paper or the section there on the paper, you'll see that if this was the scale, it could actually have a meaningful effect on the supply of USDC and Lunc. Like say like if you were to get what was it, 100 million TVL, you'd have. So what is it?
Yeah, so it's
you're talking about 5 million.
monthly about $400,000 can be burned monthly in this TVL, right? So it is a lot of Lunc and a lot of USDC.
Yeah, and so basically, like, if we want to keep say stablecoins alive on Terra Classic, like if we're to do something directly with USTC, like it will require such a ridiculous amount of money that none of us, I don't think any of us in the community would have, and to date nobody stepped up to provide that money. Like even to back it to a cent would require $50 million. Do you know what I mean? And we don't have anything close to that. So the only if you were to say get to 1 billion TVL with USTD, you'd be generating $50 million. Burning USDC annually. That's kind of the numbers you'll be talking basically. So I suppose that's it. That we need kind of a solution to keep stablecoins on Terra Classic and to generate some meaningful yield and meaningful profit for the chain. And I think USTD, there's a gap in the market currently, and that would fit into quite well. And there's another thing, say, aside from the yield that USTD does is that you get the yield, say, without requiring token lockup. So it means that you could have, say, for instance, if with Juris protocol or a lending protocol, you'd be able to deposit your USTD into that protocol and use it as collateral for a loan, and you would be sent yields then, to be on that USTD still, so you could then use that towards the APR on your loan. Then even for instance, the likes of market makers, like at the moment, whatever they provide in general either requires a dual token model or for them to get any yield, or they don't get any yield while providing liquidity on order books. Whereas with USTD, they'd be able to provide liquidity on order books and get yield immediately. So it'd be like leaving money on the table for them to not use it basically over the current tokens that are there, or the current stablecoins that are on the market. And I think as we see the divide between payment stablecoins and DeFi stablecoins grow, this market is going to grow even larger, basically. I think that people will use DeFi stablecoins, and USDC and USTD will basically just become off and on ramps basically into the fiat world as they'll be what you use for payments. That would be a few years, but that's where I see things going. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, right? What also can happen, and this will be up to the governance if the protocol be developed, is to change, where the 50% of the yield goes, right? The 50% which goes to the users is always should never ever change, right? But at any given time, stochastic governance can maybe change that. Instead of burning Lunc and USTC, the money could go to Oracle pool, right? For example, that's also one of the options that can always be, chosen to help Terra Classic if that is more pressing issue. For example, Oracle pool running out of funds rather than the supply of Lunc and USTC, right? So there are plenty of options, and you've got those options when you've got money, right? And this protocol and the stablecoin can generate money in a safe way, not totally risk-free, right? But the safe way.
Yeah, and I suppose to speak on the risks again, I know some people are highlighting stuff like bridge risks, but with the model of, or basically the protocols that we're using for transfer, they're all kind of mint burn transfers or direct native swaps. So with Circle CCTP network, basically what happens is they mint, they burn a token on one chain and mint it on the other chain. So there's no collateral held in the bridge to be hacked, for instance, or anything like that. Like the tokens are natively mint burned, so that risk isn't there. Well, I don't see it there. Like Circle's one of the most trusted stable coins or cryptocurrencies that's out there. And then the other thing would be IBC token transfer, which would be relatively secure, and then we'd have Thorchain, which would be native stablecoin swaps using Thorchain basically. So there's no say wrapped token bridges or that risk that you'd associate with those. There is some risk, but it's definitely mitigated quite a lot with the methods we're using.
Okay, thanks for that, Redline. So now all of the people on the speakers can ask a couple of questions, and then we'll have a couple of questions from this audience as well later on. So I've got 3 questions. I think 2 might be directed to Redline and David, and then 1 for Martin. The first one, can you go into a bit more detail on the 20%? So I myself have tried, I think we have exchanged some DMs about getting the yields using stable coins on different chains. I've got nowhere near 20%. I'll put my hand up. I've not been maybe super active, checking in every day. So could you talk about the 20% APR, how you're doing it, how much is it automated, how much are you doing manually?
So like this is with the backtesting engine, it was completely automated. So like if I was to say, but by eye create, look at a chart, I'd generally be able to get more than the quoted APRs. And so if you look at the V3 pools, basically, they have liquidity, but your liquidity is provided at tick levels. It's divided into ticks, basically. So I don't give too much information away, but you can, provided you can concentrate your liquidity into these ticks, provided you know where there's good enough volume, and you can generate quite high APRs there. I'm confident enough in that like if you were to narrow, like if you look at some of the backtesting results that we had there, like all those positions were statically held for 30 days. So that range that was selected, like that was held there for 30 days. And those APRs that were produced said the time in range varied anything from 40 to 90%. So like you'd be generating those APRs, even though you'd be sitting outside of the trading range for a significant period of time. Even it's all highly dependent on where you put the liquidity to generate those APRs.
And what is very important is
Yep.
that it is dynamic APR, right? So one day it can be 20%, one day it can be, or 1 hour it can be 7%, and then it can be 57. So it's not fixed APR. It's up to the market conditions and what's happening in those liquidity pools. But I really suggest to go to the white paper and chapter 7 empirical yield analysis for liquidity pools, and you'll be able to exactly find out what Redline was saying, right? The first was the historical check of the results that are publicly available on on the different pools, Uniswap pools, or we've got 3 of those, right? But basically by analyzing the past results, the average range was in between 10 and 20%, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, right? But that was not enough for Redline and Rednix, so they made or Redline made a backtesting tool, which for I hope understandable reasons cannot be published and shown, because it basically consists of, let's say, strategies how to find those ticks, those areas of volume which will generate the most yield out of those liquidity pools, right? But backtesting tool was built. It took quite a lot of time. There is some information there that we could share how it was developed, what it is checking, right? But it was a second confirmation after 30 days, of checking or let's say test that looked at last 30 days, on different liquidity pools, the different scenarios. You can see different APRs there, but average was even above 25%, right? So that's why in the white paper there was this, let's say, 20% as a round number, which obviously is apt to be, to dynamics of the market, right? But still, 2 tests were performed that allowed for confidence in this protocol and in high APRs it can generate, but by no means it will be all the time. If we have the biggest bear market ever, surely those could drop, right? But still, this is dynamic APR and nowhere seen, let's say, on another stablecoin, stablecoins or yield bearing stablecoins. So I advise once again to check this. I also advise once again to go to the discourse when there is dedicated answer to this part, also explaining more about the APR and why it is not, some kind of selected just for the sake of white paper number, just to sell the protocol, right? It's based on the tests and work done, right? So I hope it answers your question, Rocko. If not,
Yep.
we can add more.
Maybe just to build up on that, David, as well. So Redline touched a little bit on like the DeFi looping strategy, where this APR could potentially APR and move the TVL could potentially be increased by like an integration with like a DeFi borrowing protocol, that where you could just borrow a stable coin and purchase at a lower yield that you're basically getting from the USTD, and loop it this way. And I was just talking recently to like a DeFi fund manager in crypto, and he was telling me that he's like very big on he's very big on the strategy on Athena, and they're going like 40% when it's looped, and it's all like a big thing. And I guess that's as well one of the reasons why you've had like a huge growth in that stable in the TVL perspective, and it's something that's very attractive for like the yield farmers to go with. And obviously it works very nicely with boosting both the TVL, but as well the APR for the initial investor itself.
Yeah, I think what is also, thank you very much, Martin, by the way, for great addition. But what needs to be said is that there is, whatever we'll say today, right? Whatever you will think, there is no reasonable way to prove it rather than just build it and experience it, right? I mean, that's what needs to happen. That is what is happening with every protocol, every idea, every project like this, right? We got all tools and all history, records and tests that prove it, and obviously, if it will be as easy that everybody could do it, those liquidity pools will not be viable, right? Those hedge funds and degens would not go after it. So the key here is actually the strategy, the automation and movement found between those liquidity pools, and that and choosing right ticks, and this is what will be the strategy will be built into the protocol. And this is what, let's say, bots, the protocol itself, will do, right? Which you cannot really do on your own 24 hours a day, right? So that is the answer for the magical 20% yield that is actually possible given everything is developed right, and we've got volume and crypto doesn't crash basically.
Yeah. And one thing to add to just the way that Uniswap V3 and V3 or V4 style pools, the way the quoted APRs work. So the quoted APRs aren't really a good reflection of the APRs you can get, because they operate so the APRs quoted, what they do is they take the complete trading fees and divide it by the overall liquidity in the entire pool, but that isn't really effective, because that some users will be getting zero of the trading fees, and some users might be getting quite a lot of the trading fees. So that's why I actually built this backtesting engine, and it tests everything at a tick level basically. So those V3, the quoted APRs, provided you know where to put the liquidity, you can generate quite significantly above what they're quoting.
And one more thing, because I think, Rocko, you asked about this. Nothing here is manual, right? Once the UST protocol is deployed and people have their USTD, then all is done on by the protocol itself. There is no person who is moving those liquidity or choosing the ticks, right? It's all manual, done according to the strategy. A little bit like trading bots do. That plenty of us are using or are familiar with, right? So there is no person who will control it.
Yeah, that's a great point, David. I guess actually we've been quite deliberate about this choice, and we've been as well looking into like maximizing the decentralization and kind of removing like the potential bottlenecks that like a manual intervention would actually bring onto the table. So this as well nicely written in that white paper. You can go over that and see the details for yourself.
Okay, thank you guys. Well, I'll limit myself to 2 questions because of the time, and maybe the other speakers can also do that. But so my second question is, could you talk about the implementation side and potential risks to achieving this? And I'll probably give a negative point here, because I've supported other USTC repick proposals, and once people say, "Oh, I'm doing a Spaces," they're like, "Oh, you've supported Alex, Redline, Fafi on previous ones, which hasn't worked for whatever reasons, Binance exchanges not replying." So if you can go into details of the implementation. So if the Lunc community, the validators, vote yes to this and it's the proposal passes, what are the next implementation stages? And are there any risks for the community members, validators voting yes to this, that this might not happen for whatever reasons, whatever risks?
But from an APR point of view, I'm quite confident the APRs are achievable. From a technical point of view, one of the reasons that we actually chose Artifine is they were involved in creating stablecoins, the Czech stablecoin, if I'm not mistaken. So they have past experience in creating these things. Maybe I know they're one of their developers, Vitek. I don't know, their tech lead, he isn't here at the moment, but they're quite proficient in what they do, and they've a lot of experience in Web3, and they've worked with some quite significant names. It might be better maybe for Martin to maybe discuss himself maybe a bit better than me, but from the technical end, basically from the quant end, I'm confident that the APR that we'll be able to get decent APRs going off the back tests.
Yeah, awesome.
Martin, would you like to add anything? You
Yeah,
first
sure.
and
I
then
mean,
me.
no worries. Yeah, on the technical side, obviously it would be like a phased rollout. So like a testnet deployment, beta. You then go and we would put like some explicit caps at like lower numbers just to test things and just stay small, and then basically scale it in a quite a conservative fashion. Um, when it comes to, I think Redline was mentioning the Czech crown stablecoin that we work with. We have worked with as well another stablecoin in the past that was related to bridging specifically as well. And we've been working with some Fortune 500 companies, Volkswagen Group, particularly the Skoda brand, and others in Web3 projects. So yeah, it's always about I guess being more conservative, just trying to stress test everything before moving to the next stage and going step by step.
Yeah, well, what I suggest is, once again, this is very broad topic, right? And there is no project, never ever anywhere that has not that hasn't don't have any risks. We try to explain those and how we mitigate them in the white paper itself. So just yesterday, the security risk management chapter was updated, and it's quite long, quite lengthy. So we suggest to go further. Right, for myself, I could say that there is this part that Terra Classic needs to understand, that UST protocol, USD is both L1 and L2 solution, right? It's hybrid solution that utilizes both parts, and some of the mechanics will utilize third-party decentralized infrastructure that Artifine team with Redline research, that Akash and other decentralized uh, providers will certainly use, right? So there is still a lot of work that needs to happen on this part to find the best solution, and to make sure that protocol will be always operational regardless of those third party providers. How to have a couple of those maybe as a backup, right? So there are various different risks, but all are mitigated. I think if we'll need to be asked specific thing to discuss specific aspects, but like collateralization or backing is backed with the reserves, right? And all of those different elements are we've got some kind of solutions to them. So right, so from my point of view, I'm not super technical person, right? Wojtek and Martin and Redline are. We haven't found a single point as for now which will be giving any danger to the development of the actual protocol. The idea itself is not that complicated. You get the money and you move it to other blockchain, right? And then you move it back and then you distribute it to other people. So it's not like a super complicated, shebang happen in the background. So I think I'm pretty confident the idea itself is doable, and we managed to check all of the important stuff to be sure that we can propose it to Terra Classic, and do not waste a little time that Terra Classic has.
Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question because I think people are going to wonder, like, if this passes, is there any other risk to it? So thank you for answering the question. I'll go to the next speaker. So let's go to DJ, and then I'll let LL pick the next speaker. DJ, do you want to ask a couple of questions?
Before DJ, I will just say one more thing, if you allow me, Rocco. The risks, right? Like for example, compliance risk. Like we never know how law could change in the future, right? This is risk associated with all of the project, right? So there is certainly risk like this. Like what if America or whoever regulators come up with another changes to the law, another MiCA 2.0 or whatever, that will make a DeFi world way more complicated, right? But so there are risks like this, and but we cannot really control those. That the work was done with lawyers with Artifine to make sure that with the current design of UST protocol, it is legal and it can be launched and it can do its work, right? But risks like this are present, and we need to discuss individual of those and we can do it today. Just need to understand this, and once again I point you to the security and risk management. It's very lengthy chapter, but all of the risks majority of risks are mitigated as for now.
Okay, thank you. DJ, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. First thing I want to do is thank you guys for including me in this conversation. It's appreciated. And actually, I kind of only have one question. So hopefully that'll save a little time. But since I only have the one question, I'm going to ask that you indulge me in a quick analogy that kind of sets this question up. I want you to imagine real quick that there's a roller coaster. It's a world famous roller coaster because this roller coaster is built in a way that no other roller coaster in the world is. I mean, with the twists and turns and corkscrews or whatever. People who love roller coasters come from all over the world to ride this roller coaster. Now, the park that this roller coaster is in, they do extremely well with revenues and stuff because of how famous this roller coaster is. Well, one day, tragedy happens. And, there's a line all the way to the end of the park waiting to ride this roller coaster like usual. All of the cars are filled, all the seats on the roller coaster are filled. They start it up and it, does its thing, and then it goes into the death drop, right into the corkscrew turns or whatever. All of a sudden, the track gives away, and the cars and people, everything go flying everywhere. Everybody is extremely injured. Some people even lose their lives. Well, they obviously shut the roller coaster down. In fact, they dismantle it. It's done. The park that this roller coaster was in, they suffered tremendously, not only financially, but the stigma of being the park that this tragedy that was reported all over the world happened in. Well, let's call it 3 years later. A group of crackerjack uh, developers or engineers get together and they say, you know what, we can rebuild that roller coaster and we can do it better because there's better technology now, different ways of refining metal that make it stronger. There are different bolting systems that we can use, and we're confident that we can rebuild that roller coaster and make it absolutely safe so that all the things that went wrong the first time would never ever happen again. And so they go ahead and do it. They build the roller coaster. And engineers from all over the world, they look at the specs on this thing, they examine it, they come and they look at it. It passes the mustard. Everybody says, you know what? It does exactly what they said it's going to do. This is an engineering marvel. It's going to work great. It's going to be safe. None of the things that happened before will ever happen again. So now we come to opening day, and the park is very excited because they're launching this famous roller coaster again, and it's going to be safe now. But what they find is that people are lining up to ride the teacups and the Ferris wheel and everything else, but maybe only a handful of people will get on this roller coaster. And months go by, the roller coaster never really regains its popularity. And basically, what they figure out is that uh, people are afraid. They're afraid because of the stigma, because of the reputation, and how horrific what happened the first time was. People are just afraid to use this thing. So, my question to you is this: how do you plan to mitigate the fear and apprehension that is out there amongst a lot of people in the cryptocurrency community regarding Terra Classic, and particularly anything that is listed as a stable coin, when they probably are looking back on how horrific things went with the last stable coin? Uh, what is your mass adoption strategy?
I suppose I'll take that. I completely understand the question because I actually spoke to some market makers, and one of their biggest things was why build it on Terra Classic? Build it somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Terra Classic was really the biggest issue they had with it. I suppose if I was to take your analogy, when we look at the original roller coaster and the original ecosystem that we had, because everything was artificial and nearly Ponzi in nature, it was like the bolts used on the roller coaster were made out of timber before, and they used to give away free money to the riders, but in actual fact it was counterfeit money, because there was nothing backing it up. Whereas what this would offer to consumers is, you know, it's backed by the safest collateral in crypto, the USDC and USDT. Like when death spirals and stuff happen, like they're the currencies that people rush into, and they're the currencies that are fully backed, and you'll be able to redeem at any time for those. So I suppose the biggest incentive really to people here is going to be the yield provided and the money that's given back, knowing that the collateral behind it is safe, or is as safe as you're going to get in the crypto space. Like I personally don't think you're going to get safer than USDC and USDT as collateral. And when you compare it to every other DeFi stablecoin that's on the market, it's the safest collateral out of any of them that is there. So that'll be what I'd be saying. So in terms of safety, it's using the best available resources on the market to make sure it's as safe a stablecoin as possible. And then the incentive that's going to entice people is money. But that's what drove people the first time around was money, and that's what would do it the second time around. And I suppose for maybe, you know, people that are new to crypto and regular people, they might stay away from it initially, but for DeFi people, like, all it needs is to get some of the DeFi heads or one or two market makers to come into it to start the ball rolling, and once they see that they're making money, you know, it just takes one to start it for the rest to follow, basically. But it would be, the yield is going to be the primary driver, and the fact that the collateral reserve is made up of USDC and USDT plus a small DeFi reserve as well.
If I may add,
if I could ask, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll add, and then please add questions, DJ. So if I may add, then I will try to explain, and I think Redline explained this just right now, that this is a little bit different roller coaster. And I will not repeat what Redline said, but he just explained how it is different, how it is not Ponzonomic, based on artificial yield. So it's different roller coaster, right? Answer number 2 will be the audit that Terra Classic will do once it is on one of the last stages before it goes to the mainnet, right? And currently Terra Classic has got various partners in this regard. Solid Proof, Certic, Oak Security, and we meet more in Warsaw a couple of days ago, right? So this is audit number 2. The third thing is what I would say, based on my experience in talking with maybe at this point 100 people, 100 people and more in Berlin and in Warsaw, and we'll have a chance to talk with more in Singapore soon. Is that I never, in those experiences, talking with people from different blockchains, never really heard any suggestion like, oh, you should never do it, or it will not work. People were, sometimes they were quite surprised that we are building it on Terra Classic, but there was no word of discouragement and no suggestion that it doesn't have to, it will not work. There was no, this discouragement, or there was only like positive view. Oh, you're trying, you are working hard, this could work. I will wish you all the best. Tell us how to do it, whatever, how you will overcome this, right? There was positivity in general from the response we had in Berlin and Warsaw. So what I'm trying to say is that it's 3 years, nearly 4 years, I think, that passed since the crash. Like I said in my little video, first blog that I recorded a couple of days ago, people nearly do not remember what Terra was, how it actually worked, not even saying how Terra Classic operates right now. So I believe that the wound is kind of healed over time, and money can bring up money, right? Another thing you need to understand is that right now this is a space with a development team. This is not a marketing team. This is not a team that will be owners of the owners of this protocol will do marketing activities for it and go shield it all around the world. Like every community member needs to do it. And Terra Classic, if it goes this route, if it accepts this project, it needs to put all the efforts and money to do proper marketing of this protocol, which have unique characteristics and great chance to put us back again on a crypto map, right? Where we used to be, right? So a part of red lines, those couple of things I can also add to the fact that the risk obviously, or the threat is there, but it's a couple of years already, and what works will gather interest, and money brings money.
If I can just
The other thing I might add, or just before I go into it, is that when I've been speaking to people about this, the other thing is that everybody I've spoken to has all owned Terra pre-crash, or the majority of them were involved in it in some extent pre-crash. So there is some tie to it with a lot of users, and like a lot of users still have it in their wallet as Terra Classic. They just never sold it, and it just sits there. It's worthless now. But like if they were to see like percentage gains in those, then they'll start to look at it and wonder why, and then maybe that would reignite their interest back in it again, because the original Terra ecosystem was something special, and there's nothing really out there still to this day that matches it, I think.
Okay, so yeah, in the analogy that I gave, just quickly, you had plenty of other. There was no question as to whether this thing was going to work, whether it was going to be safe, and I don't think there's any question that what you've developed here is really, really good. I mean, really well thought out, the yields and everything. The question was, do you have a bona fide strategy for dealing with those people? And there are more of them than maybe a lot of people want to admit, because it's inconvenient too. But do you have a bona fide strategy for mass adoption? And that means addressing those people who don't care how safe you think you made it. They're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole, just basically based on what happened before. I think what I'm hearing from you guys is, well, we think it's going to be okay. We've made it as good as we can, and we think it's going to be okay. But there's not really a specific strategy for marketing to those people or bringing those people into the fray.
Because
But I
this
suppose
project, yeah, okay, go on. Come on, Redline.
for me, the yield markets it, like this project markets itself to an extent with the yield it provides, basically. The fact that you can use it in other protocols, and still get the yield, like that's something that would be it's attractive to people immediately. And for some people it would be leaving money on the table not to use it. And like if people really want to see, like other than the strategy itself, like the rest of it will be all open source and will be audited. So like people can verify the code themselves if they really want. Do you know what I mean? And if you're somebody that's investing millions into this, you're probably going to audit that code yourself anyway. I'm sure a lot of market makers do audit codes of protocols before they put deposit liquidity into them. And I'm sure people will be able to verify all this themselves then. It's really the yield, like it's the money and leaving money on the table. Money motivates people, and I think that's what's going to market this.
Yeah, what I wanted to add is that nobody is saying that it will happen overnight, right? Certainly at the very beginning, it will be Terra Classic mostly. Maybe it'll take a little bit more than we like to build real adoption, right? That's the just nature of our situation, right? But you also need to understand that you are asking about scope of work, which is not scope of work of this project. If we were to be a regular business, I will be owning, Terra Classic blockchain or whatever blockchain building or whatever, market it will be built on, and we would have a marketing department. Then yeah, part of this project will not only be a launch of it, but also create full-blown marketing campaign, right? But this is Terra Classic. It is decentralized, and the only thing that can happen is the team that can build it, and then we collectively can try to market it, or Terra Classic itself, not David Skinner or Redline or anybody else from the team. We cannot hire marketing agency or to do TV spots on Super Bowl, right? This is part that Terra Classic needs to work on, and there will be time for it during the 12 weeks of implementation. There will be time for Terra Classic to work on this and to commit to it, right? This is the development of our Proco in a way that it works, and we can all 8 or 7 of us can sit all day, all night on X, and 8 of us can just spam about the UST Protocol. But if only us will be doing this, then yeah, surely the adoption will be low. It's all up to every Terra Classic community member to commit to this idea if we go with this idea, right? So please, understand the marketing of this project is not part of this project, right? But it surely needs to happen. But this is what we collectively need to do. But apart of this, obviously, what Redline said, the yield and what is good about this project is how it markets itself. We believe that that's also the case. And the phoenix rising from the ashes, the biggest crash ever, can turn into the biggest, comeback. And that was also what is attracting people, could attract people to it. So I hope you understand the answer, to this question. I hope you have some faith after the answer.
And I suppose the other thing about Terra Classic is that, like, if we don't try build innovative products here, like, what's the point anyway? Like the Oracle has a limited runway anyway, and we should be trying to build innovative products here. Right, Terra Classic has a history, but let's show that we learn from that history, and everything we build now is, it's secure, it's not Ponzi-nomic in nature, but it's a good product. It delivers similar yields, and I think the thing about Terra Classic is that we have to show that we've learned from our mistakes and build something secure. That's the point of this, that people can see we're building in a secure fashion from here on forward. We don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, basically. We know better than anyone else to know how hard it was.
And Redline, I think you made some kind of calculation that even if, let's just say hypothetically, if we only put like people into it, right, or this kind of money that we have there, like even if we put our own money into it, it still can make good profit or can help, right? So even the worst case scenario, just way less adoption than we thought, it still can be a viable product for Terra Classic. But yeah, we are aiming for much more, and for this we need community and world to go behind it, right? That's what we hope for.
And if I can just build that on the roller coaster narrative that was shared initially, on the other hand, that can, in a way, be a bit of an advantage, just knowing that there was the roller coaster once. At least I personally, at least for example, my team, we got into Terra Classic because of stablecoins, and there's been a lot of crypto comebacks over the past years that happened, and I wouldn't. I at this point I wouldn't be surprised as a crypto user for a story like this to unfold. So that the potential for the hope can be, I guess, it's something that can be like a legit thing.
There is a reason why Terra Classic is number 40 or number 39, I think. When you go to CoinMarketCap and you check most visited blockchains, it's actually rising. It was 40, it's 30, it's 40 right now. Okay, so it's fight between Litecoin and Terra Classic, right? That's number 40 most viewed blockchain in the world on CoinMarketCap, at least there. So it's giving you information that people are waiting for this, right? People have belief that something can happen, and That's why they will try it, because that's the way
Yeah.
to pump their backs too, right? They will, if they will only have a little bit of USTD, and everybody of us will have a little bit, will still have overall huge bag that can pump Terra Classic and Lunc, our main investment, high enough so that we are all making profits, right? So there
Yeah.
is potential people waiting for this.
The connection stablecoin and Terra Classic has already been made. It's just on us to prove through the security and through the design and through the proofs that this is not going to turn out the same way.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, all very much for your responses, and I will yield the rest of my time on the floor. I'm sure that other people have some questions.
Thanks, DJ. I think Edel's having some issues, so let's go to Bleaves. We'll come back to Elaine.
I can
Bleaves, you want to go ahead?
try. Rocko.
Yeah, hey, appreciate it.
I can't hear you clearly yet. I don't know about anyone else.
Yeah,
I
can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can hear you,
Bleaves, you
please.
can go ahead. Bleaves, go
Okay,
ahead.
all right, thank you. All right, so are there any safeguards that are going to prevent, because from my understanding from the white paper, that this is going to be a full-on governance thing through what we're already doing, so nothing's going to fundamentally change about the way that this is handled. But are there safeguards to prevent like some wild governance decisions, or are we just subject to whatever the will of the people is?
Well, to some extent, like, so the bots are going to be controlled by multi-sigs, and the wallets are going to be controlled by multi-sigs. So, I mean, yes, like, so, like, it's going to be validators that control those multi-sigs. So I'm sure if Terra Classic was doing something insane, the likes of the biggest validators like Allnodes would step in there. But there can't be really a technical thing to stop governance. We could maybe hard enforce the 50%. I think that the yield goes to the consumer, and that the rest, that Terra Classic can do what they like with in terms of governance. But I think we should be able to do something with that 50% to prevent governance from ever touching that, the stuff that goes to the consumer. But outside of that, we wouldn't have a lot of control basically once this goes live.
Yeah,
So generally speaking, everything here is going to be automated, right?
Yeah, well, what I wanted to add or say once again is that the 50% that's going to users should never be, at least from my perspective, should never be up to the simple 7 days governance vote, right? If ever it should be changed, if ever, right? The other parameters that maybe could be changed is the percentage of how much yield is going to the reserves, or whether we are burning or putting the money to Oracle pool, right? Those should be the parameters that should be under quick Terra Classic governance, decisions, right? But ultimately, this way we'll stay to the with the ethos of the whole decentralization and giving money to people, and how the protocol and USD was designed, right? And still it wants to be deployed on L1. The whole protocol can be upon the governance, and then upon the work of different developers, it can be changed and adjusted, right, in the future to the extent Terra Classic will ever want, right? Hopefully there will be no vote saying stop USD protocol if it's working good. But if there will be vote like this and governance will vote yes, then who are we to say no, right? So ultimately, anything can happen. The same as we will vote to build it or not to build it, it can be decided upon to be stopped or cancelled, right? But on a regular basis, the safeguards would be to not allow for too big of changes through a very quick period of time, right? That's what I
But
would.
ultimately, I suppose the point is that the whole point of being decentralized and having governance is that you trust governance, and that you as a user have a stake in governance and have a say in what happens. So that, like, it goes the same with Terra Classic. Like, the whole point in having an L1 is that you trust governance to make sane decisions and to not do stupid things, basically. That's the point of. Do you know, like having an L1 and having governance there, that's a security, or you should look at it as a
Yeah.
security rather than a centralized authority basically having control.
Gotcha. All right. Second question, and I'm not sure exactly how to frame this the right way, because the more I think about it, the more it would occur to me that based upon this, that there's really no incentive other than 100% speculation to hold USTC at all. And currently it's sitting at around 100 million market cap. Would you anticipate that a lot of that less speculative money would suddenly be moved into USDT or USTD? And is that kind of the goal, to kind of move people away so that can, I don't know the end result here is going to be a repeg or not for USTC, but it would seem that based on the numbers that you guys have, based on the potential flows and the projections, if you will, of what could happen there, that there really seems to be no call for USTC if this is the case anymore.
Well, if you look at USDC as it is currently, there is 5 billion of debt associated with it,
right?
But there's going to be demand for USTC even with this protocol because of the arbitrage opportunity that we create. So, say for instance, like a percentage of the yield we have there, you're going to be able to buy your USDC for say a cent on an exchange, but sell it to the market module or burn it through the market module and get $1.10 in value back. So there's going to be incentive to have USDC, and there's going to be a price impact on that, and there's going to be more demand now than there is currently because there's actually a use case for it. You can perform these swaps, and it's free money basically with arbitrage.
Right.
No, that 10% number isn't an exact number. So like there is going to be demand. So like people will have to buy on the exchange, which will push up the price, and then they'll basically swap it into the market module and burn it off. So it's going to both push the price and burn the supply at the same time. So that could only be a positive thing for USDC as a holder.
Okay.
And I guess
the final one.
Yep. Let me just add beliefs, if I may. I think there will be nothing wrong in swapping USDC to USDD, right? Like there is nothing wrong with swapping your staking rewards in USDC to Lunc, right? Many people do it or did it. Some people not. Some people just hold USDC. Some people just swap it straight to Lunc, right? And so there's nothing really wrong with this. This is way to moving the money you have and making another money on top of it, right? And then the repeg. You ask about repeg, right? So this protocol, this idea is, its primary function is not USDC repeg, but its secondary function is to help in the process of future USDC repeg, right? By removing the supply by those arbitrage possibilities that Redline just said. So it's many people ask, is it like replacement or is it like newest USDC? No, it's not USDC, and we do not forget about USDC. It's just it is not viable at this point. But something else is viable that can help USDC in the long run, right? So
Yep.
I would myself use this per USDC, even though and you can always swag to it back when there is hype for USDC is coming back, right? So it creates transactions on chain. Nothing wrong with this, I think.
All right. And the final question. This is going to be kind of a funny one because I don't have any other way to put this, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. My thing says I'm connecting. I might be losing connection. Before I go though, have you guys considered the name? Because in America, STD means sexually transmitted disease.
Here, but it was originally supposed to be UST decentralized. That's what it stands for, basically. We could maybe make the D smaller or something.
Well,
no man wants that.
Yeah, that's right. We don't have that problem, right? But what I can tell you is my view as somebody who is, in the world of branding, The question is, how big of a problem is it, right? Before you said it, actually, I heard it on one of your videos, Leaves, right? Before you said it,
Yeah,
I didn't know it, bro, because in my part of the world, in Europe, I no associations like this came to my mind, right? Apart of you, I didn't hear many responses like this, right? And the other thing is DeFi world. This is meant to be a DeFi stablecoin, right? It's money, not the actual brand. So I don't see risk, since we can simply explain it, and it's also USD, not STD something, right? But I get you. America is huge market, maybe one of the biggest for Terra Classic too. But I would focus on delivering the protocol and building adoption, and rather than um, maybe not wasting time, but putting energy to argument which for some people is right, but for some maybe completely not right. It just depends on your position and your part of where you are living in, right? So we'll think about this regardless, right? Maybe something can be done in the future. It's not like it's set in the stone. But there will be a bigger problem, not having a re-yield will be way bigger problem than the name itself, right? But surely it's good to have it in mind, and maybe mitigate the problem in some ways in the future. Can it be done? Surely, right?
yeah. I mean, I imagine we're going to just refer to it as UST DeFi. That's just the way that I think of it. But I thought it was pretty funny that it was actually, I think it was a testament to, we have a weird sort of fetishism in the United States that makes me laugh most of the time when you get silly things like this. So I just thought it was funny.
But I think you could nearly roll into it with the marketing, especially in crypto as well, with the way things are, that you could be like the only STD that you want to have. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
with crypto, that kind of marketing works to some extent,
The other thing
It does.
is USDT, USTD. Like, there were even discussions whether there will be confusion with the names with USDT. People will be typing Google USDT, or USTD will be looking for USDT, and vice versa. That could be actually advantage, right? And being close to the name of the one of the biggest stablecoins there. So I hope it will not be a problem, and even if it will be, it's not a big of a deal, right? Ultimately, it will be bigger of a deal if regulations change completely, or crypto is about to die, right? So once again, good suggestion. I will have it in mind, and not the priority maybe right now to focus on actual name, right?
Okay, thank you, please, for the questions, especially your third one, one
Yep.
of my favorite. Adele, can you speak now, and then we'll go to Don for the final question.
Yeah, let me try, guys. I try my best to be at a silent spot. Tell me if it's okay, like volume wise, and
Everything
if
is
I'm loud
fine.
and clear.
Loud
Yes,
and
I can
clear.
hear you now.
Awesome. So let's grab the opportunity. So my first question is, what is the counterparty risk for the community? And I'm not talking about when the protocol has been implemented, but rather like during the voting. So when we release money from the community pool, what's the actual counterparty risk? Because there is always some sort of risk, and I think it would be good for the community to let you guys answer on this.
In terms of us receiving funds, is it?
For example, like anything that could go wrong. I think somebody asked a similar question, but for me, it's more about the counterparty risk. Can you expand on this? Or if the question is unclear, I can try to rephrase it.
Could you rephrase a little bit more?
So I think Redline kind of got the idea. So since funds are being released from the community pool to a third party, I would like to know, as a validator and on behalf of some others that talk to me, what could go wrong for the community? So what's the risk with the counterparty we have with the proposal in case being voted yes? And have you guys thought about some ideas how to mitigate those risks, if there are any? Maybe you say there are none.
Do you mean so like in terms of the funds being released to us? So we'll be working a month in hand, so we won't get paid until the work is done. Basically, it's divided into phases. So for the community and Strat, he's going to actually verify the code or verify that the work is done at the end of each phase. So in terms of the counterparty risk, like we're working a month in hand, and the work is going to be verified by Strat before the money is handed over or paid by governance, basically. So to me, that mitigates quite a lot of the counterparty risk to the community, I think.
And basically, it's exactly like with every other development that there was since the crash on Terra Classic, right? And every project like this has got, let's say, similar counterparty risk, but it's rather if it's paid per job, if it's paid after the job is delivered, then it's rather risk on us that, for example, Redline gets money and goes to Mexico or whatever, right? And he doesn't. Like that, there's the one wallet that receives the money, right? And it needs to be split between parties and infrastructure, whatever, right? And it's rather risk on our side, but it's exactly the same with every project, with Genuine Labs, with Orbit Labs, PLV Labs, and maybe the size of the the cost is bigger than usual, right? But the project itself is also bigger, and also more people are involved in it from the development point of view. But I think that the biggest safeguard for Terra Classic is it's being paid after the job is done in part.
Okay, guys, I think the answers were pretty comprehensive. I would like to add one more question to this, because you guys explained pretty well why there is not much counterparty risk. I would say that was your explanation. I would like to have clarified who is the counterparty that we are working with, because somebody is receiving funds, and who is going to be the actual counterparty. There is a team. I assume you guys said there is going to be a dev team working on this. There is Redline. There is David Skinder, right? So who is this? Is this a group? Like, are you going to call it an I don't know, the USTD task force? Is that going to be the counterparty? Is it like somebody from the team, or all of you?
You can call it the task
Can you
force
clarify?
if you want. Like you can call it the task force if you want, but officially it's a team made out of Redline, Drifter, Rednix, and to Stravco as a voluntary helper, and two development teams or two companies that one is doing the backend from the backend development, and the second one is doing the design. You can call it whatever you want, right? I think the safest way would be to create a multi-sig that the money is paid to from community pool, and it will be distributed to all of the parties and other thing that needs to be paid, because infrastructure for a test phases also needs to be paid. Everything will be handled from this, right? And that's the safest way for a team. But there, I simply I don't see a need to call this team USTD task force. But if we want to, if that's really necessary, then why not? It will be a fun aspect too.
It's not really about the name. It's more like about for people to understand. So from my understanding, your answer to this is our counterparty for validators. So for example, if I have to vote with Juris validator, or the other guys have to vote, it's from my understanding, following your explanation, it means that the counterparty is an aggregate of all the members mentioned in this team that make up this team. And we can distribute the funds through multisig or whatever, but the counterparty would be the aggregate, like meaning the sum of all the parties involved. Is this correct?
Yeah, that would be correct.
Awesome. So that was my first question. I'm sorry if it was complex. The second one is more easy to answer, I hope, and pretty short. As a selfish L2 project owner, I would like to know, how is USTD going to benefit my own protocol, my project, and all the other L2s? Like, is there opportunities for integration, collaboration? Have you guys thought about this? And if yes, and if it's already in the proposal, can you expand on this for people that didn't read the proposal yet?
Well, so in terms of the benefit to L2 pools is I suppose the benefit would be shared across L2 protocols across a number of blockchains because you'd have the token tracking that's there. But like it would boost certain protocols, like take Joris for instance. While it would make sense to lend out USTD because the yield follows the token, it would make sense to use it as collateral, and you could offset your loan APRs with USTD basically. Depending on what the APRs are, it could even be, do you know, if the APR of USTD was earning more than the APR, you could have free loans basically, do you know, depending on the APRs at the time. The other thing is that it is going to bring liquidity back on chain, you know, through even just the arbitrage swaps, and just by creating those profits for people and enticing people back on chain, that should entice more people to interact with the L2 protocols and discover the L2 protocols that are built on Terra Classic. Because I suppose that at the moment, the biggest problem with Terra Classic is that most people think we're gone already. They don't really realize that people are still building here. So I suppose that would be one of the benefits would be that as you know, profits are generated, or profit opportunities or arbitrage opportunities are generated here, and liquidity is brought here, it should benefit most of the L2 protocols as well. I can't tell you how much exactly, but it should benefit them.
No, I think that was like pretty good answer and explaining everything. I would like to abuse my co-host position, since Bleeves was also allowed to ask 3 questions, to add one more. If that's okay with you guys.
Sure, go on.
Yeah, by the way, yeah.
So it's actually a spontaneous one. I didn't think about it, but since 2 days ago, I think Selenium released their synthetic USD. I'm not sure if it's completely online yet, but they announced that it's going to be online. So it's a very simple question, because for most people, it's like, now we have 2 stablecoins. Why should we have USTD if there is already one decentralized synthetic one? Like, can you explain the difference to people, why it would make sense?
Well, I suppose
I guess in your opinion it would make sense. So what's the reason to have USTD if there is like this SUSD thing? Like, can you explain the difference to people?
I suppose for one, they're different products. Like if you look at SUSD, like it's an over collateralized model. So I think it was, I have to double check, but I think it was 150% is what they're using. So you would have to deposit,
yeah, I think so,
$1.50 worth of collateral to get the SUSD out, or the SUSD out. Whereas with this, you only deposit $1 worth of collateral and you get $1 back out, and you still get the yield, if that makes sense. So it's a different product basically. It doesn't require the 150% lockup.
And the yield that you're getting automatically without need to stake anything, right? Does the SUSD have the yield?
I'd assume they'd have some yield because they probably stake the collateral or do something with the collateral, but at the same time they need to keep it liquid to some extent, because they have to be able to liquidate it if the price goes down to a certain point. And that's the other thing, is that the risk of using these protocols is that you're, you know, you can get liquidated with them basically. You're not guaranteed that the money that you, with USTD, the money that you put in, you're pretty much guaranteed to get back out. Whereas with SUSD, the dollar value that you put in, you're not necessarily going to get back out. So, but equally, it could be more if the price of your collateral goes up, basically.
And just to be sure, we are very happy that Selenium is, working on this and bringing other synthetic assets. I was very happy that they confirmed the launch with first, and that will bring it volume and interest into Terra Classic. So by no means we we try to say don't use this one or this. It's just, those are just 2 different products and different ways to use them, and one have clear advantage over the other on some certain aspects. I myself, when I discovered this news day or two ago, and I am not super technical, not on the level of Redline, but I was myself asking, is it truly a stable coin in this case, really? And
Yes, I think it
And
is.
even
Sorry to
this
interrupt, but I
is
think
just
so.
discussion we are having because I don't know, right? But I don't see it as a competition. I think, and because of those differences, we should not either, right? And remember Terra Classic or Terra before the crash had you know on your own how many stablecoins, like 20 or 30 different kinds of stablecoins. There is nothing wrong in having a variety, certainly if those are different in construction and different in usage, right? So I hope both will succeed.
I think both can succeed, because what I could imagine, like while you were talking about it, is what if I minted USTD and it was whitelisted as collateral in Selenium synthetic USD asset. So first I would go by Circle USD, then I would mint your stablecoin, the USTD one, which generates yield automatically, right? Basically through the minting and all the stuff you described. And then I go and deposit 150% over collateralized Selenium and mint more of the synthetic one. How about that?
Would you not have to
And
put? You'd have to put you'd have to have $1.50 worth of USTD to get it $1 out.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
yes, but the liquidation risk is pretty much zero. So I can loop this a couple times.
Oh yeah. There would
not?
be yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's actually pretty cool products that can work together, from my understanding, right?
DJs like you will certainly find a use for it, right? I know,
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it.
That's the beautiful thing about DeFi, right? Like each things can work kind of like components and be added together to like build a use case and build a strategy. So by all means, optionality and being able to add things together is what strengthens the entire ecosystem.
I could think even one step further, after you do the looping, you go into Juris, deposit your Selenium USD, earn interest on it again, and then you start from scratch, adding to your position. That could, I have to write it down, like, to see if it really makes sense. But right now, like, just talking about it, like, Redline, do you see issues with what I suggest?
I didn't a second, but when you start talking about it, now I do. You can basically you deposit your USTD as collateral, mint one SUSD, sell it on the market for USDT, go mint some more. Yeah, I don't, because of the words or the names of the coins are so similar. It sounds a bit weird, but I understand what you're doing 100%.
And it works, you think?
I think it works. Yeah. You would be able to get something back. You would be able to loop it to some extent. Yeah, the 150% is a bit harsh, but you would be able to loop it a bit.
I think the difference
and then run it through Juris lending, and like make it a little bit more spicy.
I think that
so basically that's a flywheel, stablecoin flywheel.
maybe it is. Maybe we just discovered another utility for this. But what I wanted to add is I don't really know that much about as Selenium USD. I it's brand new there. I didn't really research everything about this, but I think the difference between their product and UST protocol USD is also the secondary goal that USTD I think can achieve more directly quicker time, which is burning Lunc and USTC or maybe filling the Oracle pool, right? So that will be the difference in terms of both of those products, I think.
Right. Well, I suppose the thing about USTD is that it has innovations that aren't currently on the market today, and that not only separates it from Selenium, it separates it from most of the other DeFi stablecoins that are on the market today. Sorry, can you hear me or wait?
LL is really doing the looping. LL is really looping everything. he's making profit already.
Through my head. I'm going through it from my head. No, I had issues unmuting myself. I'm sorry. No, I'm done with my questions. I think they got answered pretty well. Sorry for taking so much time. And let's move to the next one. Do we have a next one, Rocko, or
Yes,
was I lost?
We have done it.
And then whilst Don is speaking, David, if you want to pick maybe 2 questions from the public, and then we'll start rounding up the stream. Don, go ahead.
Okay, guys. So I got answer to all of my questions, but I have the last one. That is, what is the long-term vision for USTD? But please make it simple and plain so all listeners can understand here on the podcast.
Well, I suppose in short terms, it's to revive the Terra Classic ecosystem and to really make a dent on the USTC and Lunc supply. Primarily for me, the Lunc supply, because we need it in terms of both investors and in terms of the Oracle pool. The price needs to be pushed a bit. And like if USTD is to achieve like $1 billion market cap levels, like the amount of money that it'll be generating, like would make serious dents on the supply of current prices. You know, like you're talking about burning what we need to burn, but it does depend on adoption. But like this generates if this does get adopted into the $1 billion market cap levels, like it will deal with the Lunc supply. I suppose for me is the main thing, and for most Luna Classic holders, I think that primarily that's the main thing. And like once USTD, if it does prove successful, we can open it up to other currencies that have stable backings like the euro, the pound, the yen. There's a certain, so you can have to some extent some of the forex back on chain again. Now the APRs for all those other currencies wouldn't be anything near the dollar APRs, but it is something we could look at if USTD is successful.
Yeah, and then there's another thing you can maybe add, Redline, because you will know how to explain it, but we've got this chapter 12, and we've got enhancing yields on and overcoming TVL limitations, right? There's this idea of arbitrage, also using other currencies or Bitcoin in this case, right? So launching the protocol and stablecoin, it's one part. Building the adoption is second part. Maybe revitalizing other stablecoins for the same system is another part, another goal. USTC revival at the end of this or somewhere in between, right? But there are other ideas how to allow for our other arbitrages or other ways to generate yield, right? If you can maybe elaborate a little bit on that, I think it will be a value for users, listeners.
Yeah, so like basically the method for producing the yield at the moment is literally just providing liquidity on stablecoin to stablecoin pairs, but we would be able to arb those markets, which isn't something I've included yet, to increase the yield. So you'd be able to arb it because you'd have liquidity on all of the chains. You could actually arbitrage between all of them without having to move liquidity. So that gives you an edge, and it would enhance the yields. The other thing we could do is as we build a collateral reserve, we can, or the DeFi reserve, say, we can use like stake some of that. We can enhance yields further by utilizing it in different ways. But at the moment, the main protocol itself, it's designed in a way that it's super simple, it's super safe. It doesn't require heavy management or anything like that. For arbitrage, it will be the same. Like the whole point, as we're introducing these new things, they would have to be stuff that could be automated basically. But there is more ways to enhance this yield. And the other thing as well is the back tests. Like those yields that were produced there were 30-day static positions, and so that means like the range was just held statically for 30 days. But as we're working on the bots, like the bot strategy is going to be a bit more complex even than this, in that it'll dynamically move the ranges as needs be, and rebalance and stuff like that. So there's going to be the yields are going to be there is the ability to enhance these even further, basically. Does that make sense? Or hello?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the answer.
Okay, I've got a question from the audience, David, and then maybe you can pick a question as well.
But before you do it, Rocko, do you really need to go, or because if you need to go, and I think we can continue without you if you don't have time. But I think if everybody agrees, maybe we can just continue with a couple of questions from audience, couple of questions from chat, and maybe lose discussion if people want to, right? I personally can go for longer, but if you can, I think we can do it depending on the rest of the panelists and people, right?
I can go for another 15-20 minutes. Redline, do you want to go on for a bit longer?
Yeah, 15-20 minutes is no problem for me if it needs to be.
Yeah, I can also do 20 more. Not an issue.
Me too, I'm fine.
Okay, let's do 15-20 minutes then. Okay, so I've got a question from an audience. So on use cases and user adoption, who are the target users for USTD? DeFi power users, institutional, everyday savers. What are your strategies for trust building, UX, and onboarding to ensure broad adoption?
Well, really, it's actually where we would market to all of these people. Like even for people that are new to crypto, say because USDC and USDT won't be able to offer yield. Even if you were to just say invest in USTD, you could use it like a savings. Do you know what I mean? You could just keep it in your wallet as you normally would the other stable coins, but get yield from that. In terms of DeFi users, I think the ability to use it in different protocols without having to lap up another token and gain yield while it's on an order books or in another protocol like that sells itself to DeFi users.
I think it's pretty safe to say that in the beginning it will be the DeFi users that are just slightly a little bit more advanced than the total noobs, that right? It's still because of the Terra Classic, which is decentralized, because of the nature of the blockchain, it will be run on L1 without the legal entity, will be at least at the very beginning DeFi only stablecoin, so it will require some actions for you to use it. Like you will not be able to use Revolut, buy it on Revolut, right, on your banking app or whatever, right? So it's certainly at the very beginning of the adoption will be people with some kind of experience DeFi. I would say DeFi, maybe not DeFi power users, but DeFi users, right? But the longer it goes, I agree with what the Redline is saying, like institutional participants, like market makers, bigger, investors, hedge funds, whoever has got, money that is in stable coins that's sitting and not making it. It cannot be making money and be active, right? And in this case, you can make money on it and still use it in DeFi products, right? So market makers or hedge funds or big institutional players will find value in this, right? So that will be what I would add to it.
Yeah, and if you look at like say Athena and the success that it has, like as the risk profile of Athena is much higher than the risk profile of USTD, say for instance. So like right, they have a lot of backers Athena, but like if those users are to see USTD, they'll see value and they'll see higher. Like for me, it would be it's higher security than Athena by a nice margin. So like in terms of that, like it does sell itself to users basically. But yeah, it's all about with crypto. It's all about word of mouth basically, and people telling each other about it and spaces like this. But it does to some extent market itself. Money markets itself basically.
What are your strategies for trust building, right? One is the audit, right? We touched about this topic, the audit of the whole project and the fact that you can redeem back to your stablecoin, right? What are the UX things that will do? There is this idea that will be developed. Maybe Martin can expand on this, but quite likely you'll be able to people from other blockchains will be able to kinda mint or use the protocol on their part of the world, even though the yield will be coming to us. So they will not necessarily need to do the whole shebang to utilize all Terraclassic tools to get this product. It will be offered on their side, on their blockchains through the protocol. Maybe I'm not explaining this perfectly, Martin. I think you are a technical person. You'll be able to expand on this, right? But there are ways for allow to people who do not have any wallets, Terraclassic, no infrastructure to easily obtain this product, on their blockchains, and it will be still utilized, and Terraclassic will still benefit from this, right? So in terms of user experience, we'll try to make it as simple as possible, and the interface, the whole process of getting UST is just connecting your wallet and depositing the USTD or USDT or USDC, right? So you don't need to stake. There are not many steps that you need to go through in order to use this new stablecoin, right? So by the design, it's also quite user friendly. But Martin, if you can, if you know what I mean, if you can add to the idea that I tried to explain.
Yeah, sure. Just to highlight the goal, as you mentioned, David, as well. Like the high level goal is really to minimize any potential friction that's between the user and the yield. So that's kind of the core from which we're growing. The yield working like a mechanism that's basically gonna attract the users and them being able to take part. We've been looking into how we can make this work as well in like a cross-chain environment, so that basically, people that wouldn't really be fully aware of Terraclassic and have the infrastructure could participate in the setup. So that's something that can help us reach like a bigger market and basically grow the TVL higher.
And I think it was similar that maybe it'd be offered similar that like we might have a front end, but anyone would be able to use the back end, something similar to how Uniswap protocol works. That we'd have that ability there as well, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So the front end is the front end and the contracts and the protocol itself are interconnected. So you could technically access it through bots as well. So you don't have to even go through the front end itself. So that's again something that's plugging into like a different type of investors, maybe more automated strategies, and the possibility to build that on top.
Is there any other question on the actual chats? I can see the only one there.
Sorry, David. There's someone that requested to come up to speak.
Come on.
So we can let Matthew ask a question. Whilst he's connecting, David, if you want to go to a question from the chat.
Yeah, the only other question I can see, maybe I'm missing something, but I can see kind of question. So what's happening with Lunc? That is kind of question that I can see there, which I think we can respond. Right? Lunc, takes advantage of the fact that Terraclassic has a new product, and people who will be using USTD, we are hoping they will also be part of the community and go into other L2 protocols. So Lunc will be bought by those investors, right? That's just one of the part. I think Redline you can expand on what's happening with Lunc and how it is profiting from this protocol. By Lunc, I think the native token, right, rather than just Terraclassic.
How do you mean, through the arbitrage? Is it, or?
So it depends.
I missed the last about 30 seconds.
It depends how we interpret the question. So what happens with Lunc, like the native token, or what happens to Lunc as a Terraclassic, right? I think this is which question do we answer? That's the question.
I presume it must be as a token. So I suppose with Lunc, what USTD does is it will create positive buying pressure through the arbitrage opportunities that it creates, and by doing so, it also burns down the supply of Lunc as well. How much that will burn will depend on the adoption rate, basically. And also like that 50%. So like it's up to governance whether they want to burn more USDC or Lunc. You know, they can decide that down the line if they wanted to change their percentages.
And isn't the gas fee paid in Lunc with all of the USDD transfers?
On this chain, yes, but if USDD is transferred to another chain, there'd be different gas fees paid, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but that's also on our chains also, the other benefit of USDD, right?
Yeah, no, and the other thing is that like by bringing people on the arbitrage incentives, just get even people just minting USDD, like that all creates volume on chain, which helps and brings people on chain basically. So it does help the ecosystem in that way, and it creates a positive price impact on Lunc. And the other thing then is that if USDD was to get adoption by major, say, institutions or that, like there's incentive for them to hold Lunc as well, because Lunc is the governance token of USDD and their money. So they have incentive if they're going to try get the yield out of USDD. There's incentive to hold some Lunc as well, so that they have a say in what happens with it. I think that does that answer your question?
Well, it was not my question. It was
sorry.
Vainal. I hope Vainal. Oh no, it was Unsung Helmet question on chat. But if anybody here wants to just join us and ask a question live, just feel free to do it. That's the best time. I can see on the panelist the person who wanted to join us. Are you still with us? I think it was Matthew. Matthew?
Yeah, I couldn't connect. I tried to add into the speaker panel.
Can you see anybody else can see any other question on the chat? I don't see any actually anymore.
What's the next step for this for this proposal?
Okay, Matthew is joining. Maybe he actually manages to join.
I suppose next steps after this panel is to put it up for vote, basically.
Yeah, so we expect this to land on Terra Classic governance in a day or two, I think, right? Maybe even tomorrow. Before this, always there are a couple of questions that were asked on Discourse and Commonwealth that will be answered too. So yeah, but answering questions, being here, and voting on Terra Classic governance.
Okay, I think Matthew couldn't connect.
I suppose maybe just to reiterate one thing, I suppose it was a question I'd seen a lot come up, is that people assumed with USTD that as we were deploying the liquidity onto Terra Classic and getting the yield from here, and because I got asked a number of times, but in reality, all of the yield is going to be taken from other chains and brought back here. I don't think so. You're essentially taking liquidity from everywhere else and distributing it here.
Okay, there's one person else who requested to speak. Maybe we can take that last question. Is it connecting? Hello, have you got any questions? You always have some interesting question to ask.
Too busy drinking.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I had to move.
Just to add maybe a meantime, because I can see the cookie there commenting, and just to make sure, by no means we are trying to say here or anywhere that the UST protocol USD is the only one thing that can save Terra Classic, right? Every protocol, everybody who's building every projects, little one, small one, bigger one, all collectively will add to the possible success of the blockchain, right? We just feel that this particular tool maybe on at one level have can have quite a significant impact, and there were not many ideas on a one level to do it, right? So still I vote very hard for Cookie, Golden Gram, and other protocols and other projects, Selenium, Juris, and all that is happening on Terra Classic, right? Together we can do it.
Mamadou, you've come up as a speaker. Do you want to ask a question? Mamadou, we can't hear you. We'll go to DJ.
Yeah, thanks, Rocko. I'm in a different area and I've got my headset in, so I just want to make sure you guys can hear me clearly.
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I've got, I guess, maybe kind of a weird question. So let's say you put this proposal forward and hypothetically it doesn't pass. What then? Do you revamp? Do you try to look at the reasons why it didn't pass and try to change things around to get it to pass, or do you? I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you do if it doesn't work out?
To be honest, I think there's a lot of value in this project itself. We've spent hundreds of hours on it, and I think there's a gap. Like, it's something that isn't currently on the market, so it's been offered to Terra Classic like as though they were the VC. They own this protocol. They make the profits from it, and that's purely because of I think the love we have for Terra Classic, really, more than anything else. But if it doesn't pass here, we're not going to revamp it or redo it. I think we're going to go elsewhere with it. And judging off of people I've spoken with, I think there is demand for this, and I don't think we'll have a problem bringing it elsewhere, really.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it depends. Also, when I kind of agree with Redline, but on the other hand, it depends on what makes it not pass, right? And we don't know by at this point. We need to have the voting. We need to have a feedback, right? If this is very small thing that just was some kind of mistake that we made somewhere, people didn't understand something on this signal proposal, whatever. I think there's nothing wrong in just correcting small element, right? But if this is about the changing the design or something major, then yeah, that may not be the route that the team will like to go with this, right? But there is no like definite answer. It's difficult to see the future and to answer this question when we have some feedback. We've got different feedback, but not always from the biggest validators and stuff, right? Still, the outcome is.
The two of you guys are given two very different questions. I mean, Redline was pretty definitive, and he said that if it doesn't pass, you're not going to revamp, you're not going to do anything, you're going somewhere else. You're leaving the door open for possibly changing things around if it's maybe something minor. So, is this something that you guys have talked about? Or is there a clear answer?
I think
We
there's
briefly discussed this. Like, I'd be open to minor changes, but at the same time, like, I think what's being provided for what's being offered, basically, I think is good value. I've spent a lot of time on this, and I'm not letting it I'm not going to let it go to waste, basically. I'm open to making minor changes if there are minor changes, but if there's something, major changes about it, or if there's yeah, I'd be open to making minor changes, basically, but I don't think I'd be open to a major revamp of it.
That's what basically I said, right? So I don't agree, DJ, that our answers were totally different, right? I just added that exactly what Redline confirmed, right? And we, the team discussed this, and in any reasonable person would know with the minor, very small change or some kind of mistake would go for a second time, right? Like with the USTC, on-chain proposal that it didn't pass for Terra port. they did it for a second time, right? So it depends on the actual case. What is that makes people vote no if this is what happens?
Well, David, I can tell you that I am a fairly reasonable person, whether you believe so or not. I think so that I am. The reason I asked the question is because I did see that Redline had said somewhere else that, if Terra Classic doesn't want this, then he'll take it somewhere else. And I just wanted to know if that was still the stance or if, that had softened up a little bit. Thank you for your answers.
Well, like the thing is that I'm offering it to Terra Classic first because there's a love there for Terra Classic, I suppose. But at the same time, like there's a limited window Terra Classic has to even get something like this off the line with the way the Oracle pool is going. Like we're open to small. Yeah, for me personally, like the time is now to get this project going with the way the stablecoin markets are going. I don't think it's something we want to sit around on at the same time. If we want to make this work, now is the time. As payment stablecoins open up, this is the time to make yourself a DeFi player. For me, looking at the project, I think it sells itself. So if there's minor changes, sure, I'd be open to them. But if not, I don't. I think this is a project that does sell itself. So I'm sure. Terra Classic has basically first option on it. That's the way I put it, or first refusal, basically.
Okay, guys. Well, I'll go around the table then, unless there's any more questions from the speaker panel. Hello, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question, and I have issues with connectivity, and the app crashed like 2 times again while you guys were speaking. So I'll make it short. Redline can expand on it, and if I disconnect, just keep talking, and I will try to rejoin and listen to it again. So my question is, how good does the USTD protocol scale actually in your testing? Because from my understanding, the higher the market cap goes, the harder it will be to generate yield on the free markets, right? Because the higher our supply goes, the more you need to put into DeFi products on other chains, on our chain, to generate the yield. And did you test how well it scales, to which market cap, assuming the current DeFi landscape where we can actually generate yield? Because it's also depending on, if the DeFi market grows as a whole, obviously, there is more opportunity for scaling for USTDs, from my understanding. Redline, David, does the question make sense?
Yeah,
Can you
no,
answer it?
I did look at it. It takes a lot of time to do all the chains basically and take in all the data to backtest them. But roughly, I'd say between you could scale this immediately as is to maybe between 100 and 300 million. After that, you're kind of looking at.
I'm sorry, Redline. Did you say grand or million? 100 grand
million,
or million?
sorry. No, million. Between 100 and 300 million, say, roughly, thereabouts. After that, you'd have to do stuff like arbitrage and stuff to augment the APR rates. But if you look at the way this DeFi market is going, it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, basically. So I see that those opportunities are going to grow with time. But at present, I'd say about 300 million max would be kind of what we're limited to before the APRs would start to reduce.
Understand. So basically, what you're saying is USTD as is from the start, based on your assumptions and models and whatever you calculated, can basically out of stand or right after start scale up to being 1-to-1 in market cap with the underlying chain, which is pretty good actually, in my opinion. It's not, I didn't expect it. I was thinking of
and if I may
20.
add to it, then I will point you to chapter number 12, scalability and yield of DeFi stablecoin pairs. This is there from the very beginning where it was released, the white paper, right? So Redline acknowledges the fact here that above certain market cap, we should find a ways for generating additional yield, and it's already planned. So I can.
But it also means that in the worst case, just to be like devil's advocate, if it immediately comes to 10 billion, we kind of have an issue to keep up with the yield, right? But that's a very edge case that we probably
case
not.
scenario, the yield, if it pumps up so hard, then the yield will be a little bit lower, right? But this is where the plan kicks in, right? The arbitrage between USDC against USD and non-stable pairs, right? So I'll be just reading from the white paper. For instance, if USDC and USDT are trading at parity, but the USDC BTC pair is valued at 99,000 USDC, while the USDT BTC pair is valued at 99,500 USD, we can capitalize on this kind of arbitrages, right? And it can be built into the protocols itself, and it will be, but because we know that a certain level needs to scale, right? So what I'm trying to say is that we are aware that a part of the main source of yield, we need to straight away think about the other ways to generate money, and that's part of building this protocol. It's already there. The IDI is there, right? So it's on us to overcome the scaling issue, and there are ways to do it.
And the other thing is, I suppose, when you're comparing it to the likes of our blockchain, like the market cap of a volatile currency doesn't really compare to the market cap of a fully backed currency, because I can promise you, if someone was to dump $100 million worth of Lunc, it would be zero. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if someone was to dump $100 million of USTD, the price stays the same, or they just redeem it basically. Do you know the market cap? Basically, the market cap is going to be exactly the supply, if that makes sense. Whereas there isn't the liquidity behind the market caps of a lot of the volatile tokens. They're the last price basically of what somebody was willing to pay for one. That doesn't necessarily mean that liquidity is there. Whereas with USTD, 100 million means there's 100 million liquidity there.
And no project is never finished, right? Let's just assume, for the sake of fun, that it works, which we have no doubt people hopefully will find out, and we go to the 300 million market cap, right? We have all time in the world, in the meantime, to scale it, to give us time to scale it, further, right? It will be already a success with this kind of volume, right? We are burning quite a lot. It's actually once again, let me find it, right? But we are burning, let's say, around 600, 700,000 or even more dollars worth in Lunc, Lunc and UST worth in dollars a month, right? So we are already achieving quite a lot, and in the meantime, people are also making the money on top of it. This is just from the part that is being burned, or we are filling the Oracle pool. So we are giving ourselves the time to scale like every project would, right? It's not developed, done, and
I suppose that if you had that, it was one of the things maybe you were discussing was about maybe like down the line you could have competitions for strategies, to build strategies. And like if you look at 300 million market cap, like technically the Terra Classic community would have 30 million to play around, and like that 10%, that's up to governance to decide what they do with. Do you know what I mean? So they could incentivize other people to start, building it here. Do you know, there's incentive then to get people here and build here, and start creating a bigger narrative about Terra Classic, basically. But yeah, scaling, like there is limits to scale with this model, but the other side of it is that most of the other models, they have people managing, all their strategies. Like Athena has a team of quants managing their strategies because they have to have them there. Whereas this, it's extremely low risk, the strategy that this involves. It doesn't require a lot of management. So while scale is limited a bit, there's certain aspects to this that we need, do you know what I mean? That restrict the scalability to some extent, I suppose, that you don't have people managing it to keep it decentralized. So it has to be something that's to almost some extent fire and forget. Do you know what I mean? That the strategies are simple, they're safe, and and they generate kind of real yield, basically. That's the other side of it. So yeah, scale is limited to some extent, but there are ways to build on it safely. But keeping everything automated, keeping everything decentralized, that limits us to some extent into how we can build things and build upon it.
Can I answer the question that just appeared in the chat, or are we done, guys? How are you feeling?
You can go ahead, David, and then I can get final words from Redline and Martin after.
So I will just read William, our fellow community member, asked the question: could you go over the costs again and when CP funds will be paid out to the team? Okay, I don't need to read the second part. Thank you for a question, William. Right, so I don't know if I am the one to answer it, right? But what I can tell is there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stages of a project, and money is paid after each stage of the project is finished, and it is very deliberately written in the signal proposal. You need to look for the line payment trigger, right? So what basically needs to happen, what the request needs to see, get, being launched, that creates the signal proposal, right? The creation of signal proposal. So there are 6 triggers like this for different parts of the project, right? I don't think I should just read them now. I advise going to the signal proposal, right? But everything is paid after the job of the given chapter is done. And the second part of the question, over the costs, right? I mean, the way to judge the costs is to basically assess the value of it, right? This is what I would suggest people to do. And by value, I mean the return on investment, right? There is whole chapter, we discussed this a couple of times. The return can be very, very quick on this if we manage to go to the scale um, that is reasonable, right? So it can be days where that the whole cost can be returned, right? And this makes this investment very interesting and reasonable, right? The other way to think about cost is to actually understand the workload, right? It is project that will be done by, let's see how many, like 7 or 8 people, if I remember correctly. So there is Redline, Rednix, we've got my company Challenge Studio, we've got Artifine, which is at least a couple of people, Wojtek Martin, backend developer, lead tech developer, tech lead, sorry, smart control developer. We've got our legal compliance, which is Jan Zibner from Dr. Jan Zibner from Artifine too, right? So like 4, 5, 6, 7, around 7, 8 people need to work on this on 6 months, right? If you divide total cost over those people over this given time, obviously not everybody is working all the time, but then you will figure out still that the cost is reasonable given the standard cost of the developers. You have like 4, 5, 6, 8, or even more dollars per month for greatest developers in the blockchain space, right? There are a couple of ways how to think about the costs, right? And those two I suggest to really research and take into consideration. Anything else you add, Redline or Martin?
Maybe just to add is that the work is done. Like we are working a month in hand, and the work is going to be checked by Strat before we ever get paid. So it's not a matter that the community is paying out money without the work being done. The work is always going to be done and checked before we ever get paid for each section, basically.
Yeah, totally.
I hope we answered your question, William. But ultimately it comes to the checking the signal proposal. It's not a small project, so just reading it from by me wouldn't do justice.
What we're trying to do is build an infrastructure that's going to be, able to sustain like a robust project, and that's the goal, and do it in a decentralized way.
Okay, thank you guys. Redline, do you want to end the spaces with some final thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I just suppose like I think that there is a market there for a product like USTD. It it distinguishes itself from the other stablecoins in a number of ways, from the payment stablecoins through the yield it's offered, and against the DeFi stablecoins by being only one-to-one backed rather than over collateralized. Having USDC and USDT as collateral is another thing, in that you've super safe backing. The methods in which we transfer, in that we don't use bridges, we use the CCTV network, or native swaps. And the biggest seller, one of the biggest sellers for me, is the no lockup yield. The fact that you can use the token within other protocols without having to do anything and still get your yield. That to me is one of the biggest sellers of it. And with the way I see the stablecoin market going over the next few years, like America, the dollar actually needs stablecoins, and you can see how they're going to lower their borrowing costs through making Tether and USDC buy bonds, and making them basically what's used in real world payments. You can see that's going to happen, and then it's just a matter of then what's the best DeFi offering that's there. And I think USTD has the ability to be that. It's safe, it's fully decentralized, like it doesn't require centralized management, like all the hosting, everything. It's all done in a decentralized manner, like on Akash. So for me, like this really does separate itself from the other stablecoins. It's truly decentralized, fully backed, safe, and provides a decent return. So I think it's something that has a lot to offer Terra Classic. Like if this does get adoption, like you're talking about generating the kind of returns that we could start dealing with the legacy debt that we have, and actually getting ourselves out of the hole we're in. I suppose that's everything for me. Unless one of the other lads wants to add something.
David or Martin?
Yeah, beautiful. For me, this is really the exciting thing about this project is the risk return relationship that it offers. So really like a deliberate focus on a nice return while still minimizing risks. And we've talked a lot about that. And that's something that pushes the attractiveness of the product. Then combined with the overall context, the stablecoin super cycle, all the DeFi, all the DeFi market that's growing very heavily, and combining that with the narrative and basically the legacy that Terra Classic and stablecoins have, and being able to build on top of that, I think like it's few high level trends and high level things that can just converge in a very attractive offering. And what we're trying to do is bring this thing to the market and make sure that everyone basically in the community benefits, and doing that way. So that's what's really exciting for it.
I'll tell you at the end a very small story. We were actually with Vegas and LL, in after the Warsaw Ethereum Warsaw, there was a Solana after party on the boat, riding. We actually were no, we were just on the boat. It wasn't swimming, but it was still cool place. And at this Solana after party, I spotted one of the Polish, most known crypto blockchain Web3 figures. That is, I will not call the names, but this person is advising for Polish government in terms of MiCA and regulation. Is speaking with all of the exchanges, doing multiple of podcasts, and is visible everywhere. And then I just managed to go to him, and we spoke like 2 or 3 minutes, and and what I can tell you is that after 2 or 3 minutes explaining him that Terra Classic is about to hopefully, but is at least thinking about building new stablecoin, he was immediately interested. He shared a Telegram with me. We are about to make a meeting, and I am about to shield the idea, not to build it somewhere else, but to have another, interested person, another supporter of revival of Terra Classic. So from my feedback or my experience, the world can get behind this, and the same happened with every people that came to us after the representation that we did with LL in the Ethereum Warsaw, right? So the chance is there and the interest is there. I hope Terra Classic have a courage to take a risk, because everything is at risk. Every implementation has risks. Market module or anything else that is being developed, L1 and 2 has its own risks, but we need to take those and at least try. So I hope Terra Classic will try, and we've got a good team that can deliver. That's what I'm sure, and we'll try our best. Thank you very much for space. It was great that you allowed us to answer the questions and talk about this.
Thanks, David. Really appreciate that. And Redline will reach out to you again. We can have like a more. I know this was like a more of a structured spaces, but people can re-listen to. We could even post it on YouTube to get more viewers on this. But yeah, I'd like to probably have a chat with you separately as well, just a casual chat like we've done before. I think people might find that useful as well.
Yeah, no problem. I'd be perfectly open to that. And I suppose that, like, I know DJ Trev asked, like, if it isn't successful here, like, are we going to go somewhere else with it? For me, like, we want to build it on Terra Classic. The whole reason it's been around here is that Terra Classic, revives itself and becomes the DeFi powerhouse it once was. Like, I truly think that Terra Classic can still be the decentralized money chain. That's why I'm here, and that's why we made this. Like, this whole protocol was invented with Terra Classic in mind. That was purely the reason behind it.
I would go as far to say that in this design it doesn't work anywhere else. It will need to be changed if it's to work anywhere else, right? Is it kind of true, Redline?
Well, to some extent, yeah, because like the way this is designed is that, like, it burns through the supply and of Terra Classic, and like if it was to be built somewhere else, like the VCs would obviously want their cut or whatever, and that's how it would change. In essence, the way I think Terra Classic should look at this is that they are the VC in this. They invest in the protocol, they own it, but that also means that they own all of the profits going forward. So yet there is risk in laying out the money, but if you look at the risk, it's not quite a lot for what this protocol could potentially do. And I suppose in every aspect of life, like, there's no reward without taking some risk. But for me, this is a very calculated risk, and it would be low risk, and it brings something to the DeFi space that isn't currently there. UST was that before with its algo stable, but maybe now we can, USTD can be what reignites it with, decent real yields, the ability to use the token anywhere. So I see no reason that Terra Classic can't, the USTD can't reignite Terra Classic like UST Protocol once did. Because if we're realistic about it, it was the anchor rates and the 20% APR that drove Terra Classic's success in the first place. And if we can get anything kind of close to those APRs, but show that it's done in a much safer manner, I don't see any reason why people wouldn't reinvest in the project.
Awesome. Thank you, Redline. Well, on that note, we'll end the spaces, and yeah, look forward to the proposal going up, and yeah, let's arrange maybe another hour or two chat with you later on this week. Cheers, guys, and catch you guys later. Good night, all.
Thanks a million, Rocko.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.